The best news that turned bad fast? The call came at 6 a.m. on a Tuesday. My great-aunt Margaret had passed away in her sleep, but 3 days later came the shock that changed everything. Her lawyer called to schedule a meeting. She left you something significant in her will, he said. We need to discuss the details. I assumed it would be some family jewelry or maybe a small keepsake. I was wrong. Very wrong. She'd left me her entire estate. A beautiful Victorian house in the historic district, a stock portfolio worth $800,000, and a savings account with another $200,000. Over $1 million total. I called my boyfriend David immediately, sobbing with disbelief and grief. We'd been together for 3 years, living in my tiny apartment, barely making ends meet on my teacher's salary and his retail job. This changes everything, I whispered into the phone. We can pay off our student loans, get married, maybe buy a house of our own someday. David was quiet for a long moment. That's incredible, Jess. I can't believe it, but something in his voice sounded off, distant. The next few weeks were weird. David didn't want to talk about our future anymore, claiming he needed time to process such a big change. Then I found the text messages. His phone was charging on my kitchen counter when it lit up with a notification from someone named Becca with hearts, a name I'd never heard before. The preview showed, "Can't wait to start our new life together once you..." My hands shook as I opened his phone. Months of messages, photos, plans. David had been cheating on me with his coworker Becca for 8 months, but the worst part was reading their recent conversations about my inheritance. $1 million? Holy shit, babe, you're set for life. I know, I just need to figure out the best way to handle this. Marriage means I'd get half in a divorce, right? Unless she has a prenup. You should propose before she thinks of that. Already bought a ring, gonna do it this weekend. Once we're married, I can divorce her in a year and take half, then we can be together for real. I spent the next hour reading through their entire relationship. They'd been planning their future together, while I'd been planning ours. But the most sickening part was how they'd calculated my worth, how much they could get in a divorce, how long he'd have to stay married to me to maximize the payout. That's when I decided to play their game. I spent the next 3 days researching. Then I called the best family lawyer in the city and explained my situation. We can absolutely protect your inheritance, she said, but there's something even better we can do. When David came over Friday night with roses in the ring, I was ready. He got down on one knee in my living room, giving a speech about how much he loved me and wanted to build a life together. I said yes, crying real tears, not of joy, but of rage at his deception. I'm so happy, I sobbed into his shoulder. But David, there's something we need to discuss first. I pulled out a thick stack of papers. My lawyer says that with this inheritance, we need a prenuptial agreement, to protect both of us. His face went pale. A prenup? Jess, I don't want your money. I love you for you. I know, baby, but this protects you too. If something ever happened to us, you wouldn't be responsible for any debts associated with the inheritance. It's just paperwork. I watched him struggle, trying to figure out how to object. What exactly does it say? He asked carefully. Oh, just standard stuff. Each person keeps what they brought to the marriage, that kind of thing. The prenup included a clause I'd specifically requested. Any spouse found to be cheating would forfeit all claims to marital property and be liable for the other spouse's legal fees. I'd also included a clause about misrepresentation. If either party entered the marriage under false pretenses, the agreement became null and void, reverting to a much harsher version that left the lying spouse with nothing. David spent the weekend reading through it with a lawyer friend, but the language was airtight. He had no choice but to sign if he wanted to go through with his plan. We got married 2 months later. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Becca was even there. David had introduced her as a co-worker who'd become like family to him. She smiled and congratulated me while knowing she was planning to steal my husband and half my money. I played the loving wife perfectly for exactly 6 months. 7 months after our wedding, I served David with divorce papers. His lawyer tried to claim the prenup was invalid, but my evidence was overwhelming. Not only was he cheating, but he'd entered the marriage with premeditated intent to defraud me. David wasn't just getting nothing. He was liable for my legal fees, court costs, and penalties for attempted fraud.